This is a nice setup. We just get to lay on the bed.
Just relax.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to come in our shot.
exactly. For the first time in
Since
a week
Costa Rica.
that we don't have anyone that's going to distract our podcast. So for those of you listening right now, if you are listening on Spotify and you aren't seeing the video, we are currently in a hotel room in San Jose, Costa Rica, after coming back from the coastline of Uvita and Dominical. And
Just chilling.
we are chilling hard. We're very tired.
Resting.
And that is the topic of today's podcast, which is how to be creative when you're dealing with burnout and exhaustion. And should you be creative when you're dealing with burnout and exhaustion?
Is it something you should do?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've both dealt with that to some extent for sure in our creative journeys.
Yeah. And even just on this trip, I feel like we're really experiencing that, and it's a hard balance to find. I think rest is really important. I think taking a break from projects and creativity is really important to get a new, fresh set of eyes.
Mm-hmm. It's also difficult to find the balance because you want to have that consistency
Mm-hmm.
and that momentum, and that comes with constantly doing and constantly creating. But
It's not natural.
at the same time, you also need the rest to come at it with fresh eyes. So, I mean, I guess like every podcast we've said is like finding that balance, and not just in creativity, but in life that's the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think maybe reorienting. I like to reorient where my creative outputs are going. Like if I'm feeling burnt out on video or photo, like maybe it's time to go draw a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to go try a new style of painting, or maybe, play around with some lyrics or writing. Like try something different. Try something that's going to push your creativity in a different direction. If you still have energy to be creative, but you're feeling burnt out on a specific thing, like try something different a little bit and give some energy to a different kind of spark to help keep it fresh and keep things fresh.
Yeah.
But then also take a rest. Take a
yeah,
nap.
take some time. Like listen to your body, listen to your mind, and see what you need. Like take care of yourself as a human before taking care of your Instagram account.
Yeah.
Like, sure, that's important if that's part of your business and your career and your dreams, but you're not going to be able to create successfully and with as much passion and love if you aren't well rested yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like the product just isn't going to have the same passion and intensity behind it. Like even this podcast is like a little bit more chilled. I'd like to say that there's still value in this podcast and this conversation, but we're definitely a lot more low energy than we were yesterday. But maybe that's just nice. We're getting those cool ASMR vibes.
Yeah, absolutely.
The raspy voice on the bed.
We're just laying
in the
here,
hotel,
enjoying this conversation with you all, and we really hope it's
like a
feeding you.
late night radio show.
I hope you're sipping your water, stay hydrated,
Or your wine.
or your wine,
or your whiskey. So why do you think we got burnt out over the past weekend? We're so tired now. I mean, you could also look at it from a creative perspective and a life perspective.
Yeah.
So, but
But
let's try and focus on life.
I mean, I think that...
on creative. But I think life affects creative, so...
I think we creatively stepped into Envision, and that was amazing, really fun, a cool experience, but didn't really have the right kind of boundaries around how much time we needed to spend with that, how much energy we needed to give to that. It was kind of awkward with the time that I had to give to traveling. That kind of created a little bit of like how do we move outside of Envision? I think the heat had a lot to play, like being out in the sun all day and like for 7 days out of nowhere. You and I are in like very wintry, cloudy environments right now. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden to just be in the sun nonstop in the ocean and fighting waves and fighting all sorts of bacteria and things in the air from the Envision environment.
Yeah, it was
the
very
jungle
physically demanding.
And I just don't think that I think we handled it really well, but I don't think that maybe we took into account all of those different aspects for the few days we had afterwards, because the body is of course just going to crash as soon as it had time to breathe.
And we were shooting
And we're
like
shooting
the whole time we were there
Right.
as well, and creating and
Right.
meeting people and talking to people and like really stressing that creative muscle as well, because there was so much going on in the festival. There was always something new to go engage with, something new to create, like engaging conversations with people all the time. So mentally and physically, we were just being so
Yeah.
drained of energy, and then not having the proper space to recover mentally and physically, like
Yeah.
sleeping in a tent on uneven ground where there's music
Hot.
playing, you're not eating well, you're fighting viruses and bacteria. It's super hot, so it just like wasn't great conditions, conducive conditions for recovering the body properly. So yes, I think we did actually do better than most people. Like we didn't get sick and
Yeah.
like put us out of commission for a couple of days, like a lot of people did at the festival. But it did have an impact on our
Yeah.
creative energy for sure. And then I think you could argue that that might be because we didn't have the clearest intentions going into it.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what to expect from the festival, or even what to shoot going into it, because that was kind of unclear by the work exchange program we're a part of.
Yeah.
So I think if you can go into it with the intention to shoot something very specific, you can just do that thing and know that you've got that covered. And then if you want to, you can go out and experiment and do other things. But when you go into it with no intention and you're just open to everything, which isn't always a bad thing, it can leave you feeling
Right.
very stretched and pulled all over the place.
Yeah, and I think that next year we'll have a lot more clarity on how we're showing up and how we're going to show up with our intention, and even just moving forward in other event environments and story environments, just being really clear about like how we're going to do it. What do we need? Okay, we need, like, moving forward, we need more space to rest and recover. So let's cut time at said event a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
So that we can go get in the tub or get in the shower or get in the hot tub and chill and go get dinner and hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, I think
So
we
we can
learned a
rest.
lot of lessons from this, even though it wasn't a failure by any means.
No.
But I think we still could have made it even better.
Yeah.
And
More
I
intentional.
think,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think if you want to be the best creative you can and produce the highest quality work and be super fun and playful and expressive with it, then you've got to go into it with the right intentions and like almost plan it out better more. Like we were speaking about it earlier today, how we would have done this trip differently now knowing how it is. And it's just an energy management, like of physical and mental energy of going into an unknown space. And it's, of course, it's difficult to know. You can't know before you get there. Like we're only able to make these judgments now after everything has happened, so we can do it better for the next time.
Right.
But again, kind of how we spoke in the podcast, the last podcast about setbacks, how we can look at something that happened in the past, analyze it, and take it forward and learn from those lessons to make the next time even better. And my hopes are that this podcast is talking about our lessons that we've learned that can help other people before they've had to experience it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just get other people's perspectives and other people's kind of input on time management and scheduling and how to think about things. And like rest is super important. Intentional story is really important. Going in with a clear vision is really important.
Is there a point in your creative career where you did feel burnout? We briefly spoke about it in the last episode, actually.
Yeah, I think like when I transitioned out of being a photographer for those few years, I was feeling really done with it. I was really feeling really burnt out and didn't like it and didn't know why I was doing it and was just doing it because it paid the bills and got me friends and that kind of thing, but I wasn't stoked on it. And
how would you approach that situation differently now if you could look back and tell yourself, like, as you were approaching that point of burnout, like, what would you say to yourself?
I would just say, don't react angrily at your creative process. Like, my creative process hasn't done anything wrong to me, because I think I reacted frustratedly to my creative process, and that wasn't the right response. I just needed to take a couple years off, but like put my camera down and not sell it, and put my Instagram on pause, and not let it get hacked. I guess I didn't really have control over that, but like just pause that kind of attention dopamine hit, and like go learn another skill and go learn another process of making money or process of being creative or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then come back to it, revisit it. It would be a lot shorter of a trip back into photography for me now if I had been a little bit more intentional with, okay, these are tools that I have. Let's not like squander them.
Yeah.
Let's take my time and be patient with myself, but not rush into something that I don't really understand yet. Like walking away from it so drastically and like selling everything and being kind of throwing my hands up and being like, ugh, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
It was needed and it was important, but I didn't have to be so like rash about it.
You don't have to be so dramatic, Jackson.
I know,
Jeez.
I'm so dramatic.
Calm down. You're such a drama queen.
That's what they say.
Yeah, I mean, getting burnt out is a real thing. I feel like every creator that puts a lot of time and effort into something reaches that point, especially if the intentions aren't clear at the beginning and they kind of get lost in the business of it, the algorithm, the fans, the followers, the likes, all that kind of stuff, the money. At some point, if you aren't creating for yourself and truly expressing what you want to be expressing, there's going to be a point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't feel healthy to me. And I reached that point as well with my own YouTube channel where I was making the Lightroom tutorials and I just hated doing it and I didn't want to do it. But that was the only thing that was getting views on my channel. So I kept pushing and I was like, I have this audience, I have this opportunity. Let me just keep making this thing. But it got to a point where I cracked and I just stopped doing it and just let my channel die. And like, also, I guess kind of similar to what you did, where I just like dropped it for like a year. I still posted, but very infrequently, like didn't have the same discipline or consistency that I'd had when growing my YouTube channel. And like, that's what is important for growing any business or social media account, is showing up. And so, yeah, it was a tough time to go through. And I also was like, I didn't feel any desire to make videos anymore. And part of that was me like blaming the algorithm and blaming my audience and blaming the world that no one cared. But yeah, I think for me, I just really didn't know what I was doing and what direction I was going. And there was no intention behind it. Yeah. I was just following the trends and making what I thought would get likes. And that is not a sustainable approach to creativity at all. And so that's why we have this podcast and that's why we're having this conversation, is because I think if I had that clear intention from the beginning, it would have been a lot easier to just take a breath.
Yeah. I think
and not like just stop and throw it away completely. And so if I was creating in alignment with my message and my reason and my why, you can still reach that point of burnout where you just are so tired of creating, and you're like, oh, I need a break. But then you can see it as that and take a break for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, a year, whatever you need to do.
2 years, yeah.
But you can come back into it with that same passion because you know why you're creating.
Right.
Whereas I think for both me and you, we didn't really have that why. And so when we stopped, there was no reason to come back.
Yeah.
There was just like, we had to figure out what that was, and that's why it took so long to get back into the game again. And by that point, all your momentum is lost, and I think
that's a really disorienting feeling.
Yeah, and I think nowadays it's actually so nice to see, like especially now that social media and YouTube and stuff has become more of a full-time job, the creators that do have a very powerful why and do show up consistently, when they tell their audience like, hey, I'm taking a break, I'm feeling really, really tired right now. I'm taking a break for a month to spend Christmas and New Year's with my family and go on vacation. The audiences are so receptive to that. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, go do your thing. Like, you've put so much love and care and passion into what you're creating. Like, take your time. Like, go recharge, because we want you to come back with the same passion that you've been creating with.
Everybody wants the same passion.
Yeah.
The creator wants it, the audience wants it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody wants that same passionate truth that comes out of each of us. And taking care of that is like watering a tree or something. You got to take care of it. You got to let the roots grow down and be hidden. And
I mean, yeah, you can also think about it in terms of nature and like using this tree analogy. There's seasons to it. Like a tree doesn't grow all year round. Maybe in Costa Rica it does. I don't know. That's just like summer all the time.
Endless summer.
It seems like the trees don't stop growing here. But in a normal spring, summer, fall, winter cycle, trees have growing seasons, and they have seasons where they rest and recover and recoup and build up energy for the spring and the summer to come. So once again, I've said this in like every podcast, but we are nature as well, and we fall to the seasons as well. And our society has tried very hard to show us that we can keep going all the time and that we don't need a break, and that the hustle culture and the grind culture is so real, and that's all that matters. Especially the big cities in the world like Dubai and New York and LA, just it's non-stop, the cities that don't sleep. But we need sleep, we need rest. Every part of nature needs rest to recover and to grow better. Like you can't do it without resting properly.
To be your full creative self, you need to take that time to go through your own seasons and go through your own restful processes and relax your mind. And like I'm even feeling that at the end of this trip, where I'm just like, wow, my body needs like a couple of days where I'm not really having to push so hard in my creative mind and my creative energy, and it needs to kind of rest and integrate and absorb and take a little bit of space from everything I've worked and shot and yada yada yada, and then come back to it and like bring that fresh excitement of like, wow, now I get to go back through these photos and videos
and reflect on it and just see it from a new perspective. And I think if you like constantly stay on it, you don't get that space away from it to see what you've created and like come at it with a different frame of mind or a different idea or a different technical way to do it. Like whatever it is, that space is really important. And
needed in the creative cycle. Like if you don't have a good relationship with that space, there's a part of the cycle that's not like locked in yet. There's a part of that creative flow that's not fully there yet. You got to take breaks, you got to rest, you got to chill a little bit and just relax and play some video games or whatever that looks like for you, drawing or cooking or just sleeping.
It's about finding out what works best for you. Like this is a very personalized thing. There's no formula. I guess if I had to give any kind of advice or structure around how you could this is look at nature. Like follow the seasons of nature. When it's winter, our bodies naturally follow the seasons anyway. So that's a very good framework to work with. Again, it doesn't have to be your structure, but in winter we generally need more sleep. We generally spend more time indoors. We generally rest more. In summer we spend more time outdoors. We're more active. There's more sunlight. So if you can follow these natural processes that are happening and mimic them through your creative process, that's going to be the most healthy and regenerative system for you and your body. And your creative flow. And then like you can even break that down into a more micro scale, like using the same kind of cyclical season thing but on a much shorter time frame. So whether that's a week and you like Monday and Tuesday is your spring, and then Wednesday, Thursday is your summer, Friday, Saturday is your fall, and Sunday is your winter where you rest. So you can use nature as a framework for your own cycle of creativity, but figure out what works for you. I know for me, I typically like, as much as I can just keep creating all the time, and like I generally do create something every day, I've almost started like forcing myself to take breaks on weekends and not work at all, because if I didn't, I just would. But I've noticed that it is actually really helpful for me to to not work on weekends and just spend time with family and friends and the people I love and go outside and go hiking and not bring my camera.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes I have jobs that come up or like last minute deadlines that I have to finish on weekends. Like those things happen, but for the most part, I try to take breaks and rest and relax, and that's been a very difficult thing for me in my life. That's something I've had to learn, because when I started out doing YouTube and photo, I just was nonstop. Like, and that's cool. That's part of the passion. And like when you're in those beginning stages, it is very exciting. And I almost would say like, yeah, just keep creating. But also just like a relationship in real life, or like with another person. When you have that time apart from somebody else, be it a person or your creativity, and you really are in love with them or that creative process, when you spend time away from it, you're so excited to come back to it.
Yeah.
And you come back to it with even more passion than you had when you left. And I think if you constantly with that person or that thing, not that it's necessarily a bad thing, because it can still be good and fun, but it becomes the new normal and it becomes less and less exciting. It becomes your baseline. And so, yeah, that's why I think it's really important to have space away and do your own thing outside of that relationship with a person or your creative process, because then you can bring things into that relationship that didn't exist there before. And that is one of the best things you can do for creativity, because it's all about creating new possibilities and new combinations of random things that you pick up in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and connecting random dots and connecting different spaces and connecting different ways of thinking and showing up in your creativity. Yeah. I mean, even today it feels like there was this pressure to go do something.
Yeah. Well, we were speaking about that earlier. Like, we almost feel bad for being in San Jose. Jackson's leaving tomorrow morning. I still have 2 more days here. And we're so tired, but we're like,
we should go do something.
We should do stuff, because we're here in another country and like we want to be traveling, but we're like.
But we just went outside and walked around and we're trying to shoot some photos, and it was like raining on us, and we were like, well,
it's just not
the time.
It's not feeling it. And like even we had plans to go hike a volcano today, but it's like we already got a 4.5 hour bus here today, a half an hour taxi, and then the volcano is an hour and a half away. So we'd be 3 hours there and back, plus hiking it. And we really want to do that, but we're like, we're just so tired. And I think we just need to listen to our bodies and be like, it's not the time. We can always come back.
Just rest and, come plan a different trip with different intention to come down here and hike and do some more.
And be very intentional about the nature part of it and connecting with that, and like being intentional about shooting the nature or telling a specific story. And that's why the intention is so important, because if you come here and you're just like, I'm going to do everything,
you won't do anything.
It's difficult to do that.
Yeah. And I think now we're going to watch a movie.
What are you feeling for a movie?
What was that one you were saying? Ricky...
I said Ricky Bobby Talladega. Is that the same one? Talladega Nights? I think that's Ricky Bobby.
I've never seen that, so that's why Or we're going to watch Dumb Money.
Yeah, we're thinking about...
Something funny, though.
This is kind of behind-the-scenes info on the podcast. We're thinking of doing, like, case studies for specific creators or specific movies that have done a really good job of being intentional about their creativity and telling really good stories. So we feel like that'll be a good way to break down what other people have done very well and, like, show you how they were intentional about it and, like, almost give you the game plan of how you can do the same. And there's so many people out there that have
or at least how you could learn. You could learn and watch movies and learn from intentional stories and learn from intentional creators.
Yeah.
To kind of apply that in your own way to your own creativity.
Yeah. What were some of the other things we were speaking about as well?
Other movies?
No, the other ideas we had for the podcast.
Oh, we can't give it all to them, though.
Why not?
We don't want to tell them all about all the ideas that we're going to have.
Watch the next episode for all the ideas.
We're going to do a...
we're
like PDF documents.
possible like guides for you guys to follow along, like if you want to create your own podcast or your own YouTube channel, Instagram, or business or something. Like, we got a lot of work to do, but we are already passionate about this. Obviously, we're gonna take a break first. We're gonna chill
and watch a movie.
But we want to get working on that and like really give as much value as we can through these podcasts, because we believe this message is really powerful.
And needed.
Yeah, and then we would also like to do interviews at some point with some cool people and like speak to them about their creative journeys and like how they've been intentional about it, or how they are in the process of starting it to be intentional. So yeah, there's a lot to come. And I think it's been nice as well over the past couple of days. We've done like 5 podcasts while in Costa Rica over the last week, and it's been cool to have conversations that are very relevant to our journey right now. So we can speak about a topic and give our advice, but also bring in our personal story and our personal journey where we're at. Because we're learning and figuring out this whole thing as well as we go. Like, we're not perfect by any means. We've been in the social media world for 10 years now, but like, it's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And I think that's part of the message as well, is that it's always going to be evolving. Yeah. The social media world, your creativity, and you personally.
All three will always be evolving, yeah.
And that's what this podcast is about, having conversations around that and like how to approach that in the best way possible so you can be the best person and creative that you can be and bring magic to this world through your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how to deepen that relationship so you can continue to create from a new place within yourself.
Yeah.
Like over and
Put
over.
that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
We got to make a list of the t-shirts as well.
We're
going to have a giant merch line. We're going to have like 10 episodes, but 50 t-shirts.
The merch is where we'll make our money.
For sure. The intentional creative merch line.
Comment below what you want to see.
Yeah, I'm really excited to post these as well and like actually start getting some feedback.
Yeah, me too.
Because we filmed like I said, 5 of these podcasts and we haven't posted any of them yet. Yeah. So we have a big backlog of podcasts to go. Because we're down in
Costa Rica.
But yeah, I feel pretty good on that podcast.
That was nice.
We don't have to like force this more than it is.
It's a sleepy podcast anyways.
Yeah.
Make it short.
I hope you enjoyed this late night radio show.
Thanks for listening.
With Jackson and Dean.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Ooh, you're doing the whispers now. Maybe that'll work better if we just whisper the whole podcast. That'll be great.
We really enjoyed talking to y'all.
No, that kind of feels gross right now. I'm sure some people love that, but I'm like, ugh. I don't know if I like that.
Dean's feeling uncomfortable.
Okay, I think we're going to leave it at that.
And that's that,
like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Check out the Instagrams. Check out the YouTubes. Check out the Spotify. Leave the comments. Leave your questions. Have a chat with us. Let's get involved.
Yeah, get involved. Comment below. Get involved. Get involved.
Okay. Goodbye, guys.
Get some rest.
We'll see you in the next one.
Lay down.